They were just joking when I would read this or hear this, but I've heard it several times from like dudes who've been driving 10 or 20 years. They say the reason we have the ELD is because you guys did it's our fault. If you believe that, you're not, I mean, in the words of Senator Kennedy, you're not the dumbest person in the world, but you better hope the dumbest person in the world doesn't die. Holy smokes. Let me tell you something about the history of the ELD and how we have it in hours of service and why that's a distraction. Why is it that you can have an ELD in your truck, but if you touch your phone, safety will lose their mind and tell you how dangerous they are, but they'll let you drive over ice and snow. And there's not a thing that one person in the world can say that's safe about driving on ice and snow, but you won't hear crickets out of a safety department. You'll hear crickets. But you touch a phone, they'll lose their mind. But you can play with an ELD all day long. It's a distraction. The hypocrisies in this industry are mind-blowing, but the drivers that I talk to are even more mind-blowing. It blows my mind that someone thinks that an ELD is my fault because I'm an old guy. And here's a news flash. People that did illegal stuff and broke the laws of hours of service are still doing it today, even with an ELD. That's a fact. We asked for hours of service, just so you know. Greedy companies back in the early 40s were abusing truck drivers. They got paid. They got paid probably more than we do today. They got paid a lot. But trucking companies were greedy and they wanted them to drive more. So drivers begged the ICC, the Interstate Commerce Commission, please do something. And they, to protect truck drivers from being abused, developed hours of service. That's how we got hours of service. They weren't to stop us or slow us down or hold us back. It was to stop companies from abusing us. That's what hours of service are. When it comes to ELD, that was a punishment to Warner Trucking Company was about to close their doors. They were about to shut down. They were barely hanging on. They had broken so many laws and they were running so hard and doing so much stuff that wasn't in the guidelines. And the DOT said, hey, we're going to give you a chance, but you put this device in your truck that tracks driving time and sitting still, and we're tired of your guys just doing stuff willy-nilly. Well, they did it, and it turned the company around. People stopped eating lunches for 2 hours. You know, they just started, and it turned Warner around, and Warner made a whole bunch of money. And the thing about publicly traded companies, when one does something, they all do something. They have to keep in. If they don't, they're going to fall behind. So anytime you see a publicly traded trucking company, and when you're publicly traded, the only job of a publicly traded trucking company or any company, once you're publicly traded, the driver is no longer the concern. They don't care about you. It's the investors. Everything is for the investors, and that's what happens. Anyway, that turned Warner around. They now have stadiums and they donate money and they do all this, you know, nice stuff. Anyway, that's how we got the ELD. It's not going away because our United States Congress, they passed law to have an electronic. The United States Congress passed law in a surface transportation reauthorization bill. In that bill, there was something called MAP 21 that the United States Congress said you have to have it. Now, they never said anybody had to buy a product and pay for a service. That was, you know, that was the FMCSA and DOT because it was an ambiguous law by Congress. We're getting sidetracked. Anyway, the ELD was there because it created millions and billions of dollars more in IFTA taxes. They know every time this truck moves, and they got so much more money. As soon as this truck moves, there's tax dollars attached to this truck. You know how much more they made the second they started? And then, now you have the data. You know where the trucks are. You know where the people are. We are a cost to the economy. There's no trucking company that's good for the economy. So knowing where all the trucks are and being able to set the rate, if there's 200,000 trucks in Denver, Colorado, they know that they can set it for $1 a mile because there's only 50 loads. They have the ability to see that data. They sell that data. I don't care if you're Motive, Mobile Max, whatever. data sold or the metadata sold, whether you like it or not. Unless you created your own computer system that's approved by the DOT, they're selling the data where truck drivers are to set the rate, because the rate affects the economy, and people that are praying for our government to come and help us, we are a drain to the economy. If you help truck drivers, you hurt the economy. Like, go ahead and, you know, say, wow, it's us old guys that caused the problem. Go ask your company what they paid in 1995, what the average wage of a truck driver was in 1995, and then ask them what the average wage is today in 2025. And then go look how much trucking made in 1995, and we're at $1 trillion now. And I bet you're no more than $5,000 to $10,000 more a year 30 years later. You worked for $70,000 in 1995. You're working for $80,000 in 2025. Where's all the money? Show me the money! Have a good day. Enjoy your coffee. Us old guys ruined it.